In this video, I got a big key unboxing to show off to you guys, and then I'm going to talk about if it's worth speccing on books that are hot. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, I got a big key comic book unboxing to show off to you guys. And then I'm going to talk about if buying spec books when they're super hot is worth doing. Because there was a particular book, I'm sure you were able to understand what book I'm inferring from the thumbnail, that got super hot in the market recently. And I kind of want to look at the data with you guys and figure out if it's worth, buying these books when they're in these places of being super hot, or everybody is hungering for them in the market. But before I get into the unboxing and talking about the book, if you guys could drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, I would appreciate it. You guys know what to do. Just hook it up if you can. All right. I got this book right here in this box. I'm going to do this unboxing for you guys. And then it's really funny because so I had bought this book from a claim sale that was done by Comics with Bonix. Shout out to Comics with Bonix. If you guys don't know who he is, he's a great comic book YouTuber. He's got awesome videos. He's also on Instagram. He had this claim sale, and I happened to buy this book from him. And incidentally, this was before this rumor came out about this book that got it super hot in the market. And so my whole plan was that I was going to buy this book, I was going to get it, and then I was going to make a video with you guys talking about how I felt like this book was still undervalued. Well, that plan totally went out the window because once this rumor came out that this book was possibly going to have a role in the MCU, the idea of it being undervalued totally went out the window. So I had to do a new, video for my unboxing here today, a new topic, if you will. So I kind of wanted to talk about this idea of is it worth speccing on or investing in books or purchasing or whatever you want to call it on books that are already hot in the market? In short, the answer is it depends, but I did want to kind of show you guys some numbers and kind of show you some interesting things to think about as we get into, the idea of speccing on books that are, super hot or rumors or whatever. All right, so let's get into the fun stuff here. Of course, I got to do this unboxing. Again, shout out to Comics with Bonix, a great YouTuber. I'm very excited to add another one of these books to my collection. I happen to have a few already. I've definitely shown them off on the channel before. I've talked about this character. I'm sure you guys know who it is already, right? So it's not too much of a surprise, but for the sake of, the drama of the reveal, we still have to kind of build it up to be a surprise in some kind of way. All right, well, let's see here. Okay, we're gonna take this. Ooh, good. Got to get that painter's tape off. I love the painter's tape. Always really nice. Comes off really easily, which is always appreciated. Okay, here we go. Ooh, yeah. All right. This is a great looking book. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, the book, in case you guys haven't been able to figure it out, I haven't even made the thumbnail yet for this video, so I actually don't know. Maybe I'm just going to show it in the thumbnail. But in case you didn't know what book I'm talking about Thor number 134, first appearance of the High Evolutionary. Of course, this is a book that I already had in my collection, but I had been wanting to kind of hoard some of these books because I was a big believer in the High Evolutionary having a role in the MCU. I've done obviously videos on the channel before talking about Spec, talking about this character, talking about this book, and this is the perfect type of book that I like to spec on because I don't mind being left holding the bag if if it never comes to fruition, if we never get the High Evolutionary, because I just think he's a cool character. I mean, as far as A tier, B tier villains are concerned, I feel like the High Evolutionary is totally that. So you guys know me. I'm totally gonna love having this book regardless. And I think this one that Bonus was selling was a little bit nicer of a copy than the one that I already had. So I was happy to add this one to my collection. Got a great deal, especially considering the prices that we are currently seeing with this book. So shout out again to Comics with Bonix. Thank you so much for hooking it up. All right, well, I wanted to talk about this idea of hot books and are they worth speccing on or investing in even when they are currently hot in the market. Well, before I get into any of the numbers, obviously this is an answer this is a question that I can't really answer for you guys. I mean, all you out there, you have to be your own decision maker within context to buying comic books. You have to decide for yourself if something is worth, spending X amount of dollars on. I don't know what everyone's financial situations are, so I can't make that answer for you. But what I can do is show you guys some interesting numbers and trends that have occurred over the last year or so with other books that are maybe similar in comparison comparison to Thor 134, and we can take a look at some of these numbers and figure out for ourselves if we still think that now is maybe a good time to get in on this book, if in fact this is a book that we actually want to have in our collection. So let's take a look at two books here that I think are really interesting as case studies to look at with regards to, hot books in the market and what their values are. And I just kind of want to give you guys, a quick, viewpoint of what we see here. So the first book I want to talk about is Avengers #8. Of course, this is the first appearance of the Kang the Conqueror. We all know about this book. This one has gotten super, super hot. Jonathan Majors has been, is playing Kang the Conqueror. It's pretty much officially established at this point. We saw him in the Loki show, although they didn't have him in Kang as name. They kind of had like the He Who Remains or the Immortus version. But we're going to talk about this book because we can definitely look at this book's journey over the last year or so and kind of make clear judgments as to when this book has gotten hot, how the values have tracked, and what it has done since getting him in the MCU. And then the other book I want to talk about here is actually Silver Surfer #3. This is the first appearance of Mephisto. And one of the reasons why I want to talk about this book and why I think it's also really interesting to think about it in terms of spec is that, Avengers #8 is going to be an example of a book that does in fact come to fruition, right? It gets really hot in the rumors, and then in fact it actually does, manifest in the MCU. We literally saw Jonathan Majors on the screen, whereas Silver Surfer #3, first appearance of Mephisto, that's one that's been heavily speculated on, tons and tons of rumors, but at this point, there's a lot of people feeling like that spec might be a bust, like that it might not actually come true. So it's really interesting to compare these two books' journeys and see, how the values have sort of tracked throughout the rumor mill, if you will. All right, so let's go into, the Avengers #8 book example first. Let's talk about this particular book's journey, and let's look at some of the numbers together. So what I did here is I pulled up the GPA analysis, and I really wanted to focus on this right here, this 4.5 grade, because here in the year 2021, or the 90-day moving average, this has the most data to look at, right? Like within the last a year or so, we can see that there's been 50 copies that have moved versus some of the other rungs don't have as much of a sample size. So I felt like the 4.5 grade was a good one to analyze for that point. So we got to take it back all the way to 2020, right? 2020, this was after Endgame, before Disney Investor Day. We're in this kind of world. This is during COVID, before the comic book boom, right? And we got to look at some of the numbers, right? So I want to focus on some of the numbers in last summer of 2020. So you can see this book at the 4.5 grade hovering around this sort of $300, $400 range or so, right? So that was around the fair market value of what this book was selling for at that time. Then on September 14th, this is the date that I really want to point out to you guys, because this is a really important date for this book. This was actually the day that it was announced that Jonathan Majors was going to be was cast in a role for the MCU. And at that point, it had been heavily rumored that he was going to be playing Kang the Conqueror. I even made a video about this, talking about values of books, and I had made it at that time when this actually happened. So this is the day that's really important. And I would say that right now, as far as comparison of rumor, I think that this particular rumor with Kang the Conqueror is a little more concrete than, say, the rumor with the High Evolutionary, because this one right here is a confirmed casting, and then it was just heavily hinted at that Jonathan Majors was going to play a role. But for the sake of this video, we can kind of compare this iteration of this rumor to the one that we're currently living in with Thor #134. And you could see that instantly overnight, this book that was around the $350 to $400 range, maybe $450 at a high, instantly jumps up to that $500, $600 range or so. You can see the numbers instantly tick up, right? So automatically, based on the rumor, we're sort of at a 25% increase in that book's value. So at that point right there, you could definitely say to yourself, okay, this is a very, very hot book. Let's say we were able to get in our Kang the Conqueror time machine and go back in time there. You would be able to ask yourself that question, should I buy this book at this point in time? It's super, super hot right now. Everyone is buying this this book. Like, I don't know if it's worth me spending the money on it. And right, that's kind of where we are maybe right now with a book like Thor 134. So we got to go forward again and take a look at where the numbers go after this. So let's say this book now is trading at an FMV around $600. Obviously, there's going to be, some anomaly numbers here and there. We get to January, still before the comic book boom. Now we're looking at the February numbers. And again, we can still kind of see that this book is hovering around the 600, 575, 650, 615, 600. So basically what this says to me is that, even after the rumor, this book is still hovering around that same kind of value number. Like, we've established a new floor for this book. So doesn't matter if you wanted to necessarily buy it like right after the rumor comes out, or if you waited, a couple months, you're still now going to have to pay kind of that new premium that this book's value is. So then we go on to, March, and around March, this is where it gets interesting, because around March is actually when it does in fact get confirmed that Jonathan Majors is going to play Kang. Like, he literally, it is stated that he is playing Kang. And there you can see we get the shoot up again, right, of the number. So now we're in that sort of $700 range, and we're all up here in the $700 range. And then we go on to, Loki, and Loki is, runs through June and July. And now look at this, we're seeing a massive jump in the prices, right? Where after Loki, we're getting the $1,000, the $1,300, the $1,450. This, of course, is now in that sort of 2021 comic book boom where Disney Plus affects the values of all these books. And then finally, we get the reveal of Jonathan Majors actually in the MCU. We see him in episode number 6. That was around July 14th. So we can see right after that, this book becomes a $2,000 book. Red hot in the market, definitely well above everything that it had sold for previously. And then we look at now, kind of like in the coming months after that, we can see that there is a bit of a correction. Someone here gets a steal at $1,080. And then now we're kind of trading around this sort of $1,800, $1,500 range or so. So not quite at the peak of the reveal, but well above the floor we had established at the other iterations of the rumor, right? Remember, going back to the fact that all the way last year, it was established that Jonathan Majors was going to be playing a role in the MCU, and that book jumped up to $500, $600. And then we got, the confirmation that Jonathan Majors was in fact playing Kang the Conqueror, and that jumped up to like $700, $800. And then when we actually saw him, it jumped up to $2,000 and it kind of pulled back to $1,500. So that $1,500 number that we're at right now, way, way, way above anything that we saw in the previous iterations of those rumors. So what does that mean to me for a book like Thor 134? Well, if you were to buy this book today, you would definitely feel bad about it being like a very, very hot book in the market. And you'd say like, oh man, like that really sucks. I have to pay this premium. But if this book follows the path that Avengers number 8 follows, and again, not a total perfect comparison because it feels like Kang might be the Thanos of this thing versus, or this new phase versus like, say, a one-off villain like the High Evolutionary might actually be. But it just kind of gives us like a checkpoint or something to look at. Now, that said, Kang's book and Kang's journey is a villain, a character that has actually paid off in the MCU. We've actually seen Kang in an MCU property. Now, what happens if we talk about a book where, the rumor is kind of a bust? Because as of right now, this High Evolutionary thing is only a rumor. So, there's nothing to say that this is actually going to come to fruition. So that's kind of why I wanted to look at, the Mephisto book with you guys. And let's take a look at how that book's journey has gone over this last, year or so. So once again, we have Silver Surfer number 3, a very hot book in this last year in this market. So many rumors of people thinking that we might get Mephisto in the MCU. I'm still partially a believer that we might get Mephisto in the MCU, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about how this book's values have grown throughout the last year. So, if we flash back the clock to, 2020, just to give you guys a quick snapshot, we're here pre-Disney Investor Day. This book is a $200 book. And again, I'm looking at the 4.0 grade because this has a larger sample size. So again, it's a $200 book, maybe a $275, depending on how you look at it. We get Disney Investor Day. We get some new images from, WandaVision. Disney Investor Day was in November of last year. So this book kind of jumps up, $100 or so. Now it's a $300 book. And then we get into 2021. We get into January. And again, WandaVision ran from about January up through March. So we have to kind of look at the values of this book in that time period. So in January and February, this is a red hot book. Everyone is thinking Mephisto is coming in some kind of way. Everyone's thinking, oh man, like all the devil's in the details, right? Remember all the little YouTube videos with the red circles pointing to Mephisto? the Loki window. Again, all these Easter eggs, right, being planted here. So we're thinking Mephisto's coming. So this book, again, goes from a $200 book last year to a $300 at the end of the year after the trailers, to a $400 book at the start of WandaVision, to a $500 book in the middle of WandaVision, dips back down to $450. We're still at $575. So again, we're climbing. A lot of people are thinking that, maybe he's going to show up in WandaVision. And then when WandaVision ends, which is around March 15th, what happens to this book? It takes a correction because we didn't get the payoff of Mephisto, right? So it dips back down to the 450, 480, 500, 450 range. So again, we're not quite at the top. The book cools off a little bit, but if we're looking at these numbers generally, I mean, we're still pretty high up. I mean, we're definitely well above where we were when we initially got those rumors. So if we're thinking that the Thor 134 rumors are kind of similar to like the rumors of Mephisto, what we're seeing is that the book's floor is still higher than what it was previous to the rumor. And even without the payoff of that villain showing up in the MCU, the book still maintains that floor because people still value this book or still anticipate that Mephisto could in fact happen. And then we get here, we're back into like No Way Home territory. We're thinking about Spider-Man. A lot of people talking about the one more day story. And here we are again with the Mephisto rumors and the speculation. And we can see that this book has now jumped up to a $600 book or so. So definitely really interesting to follow the Mephisto book journey, where we can see that, the rumors definitely spike the book. And then there's a little bit of a correction, once the rumor doesn't pay off in a way. But, again, people still now believe that there's a potential that Mephisto might show up, or people still now have like this price memory, this fixation of this book having a new ceiling for its value, and it's hard for people to sort of let that book go for less than what they maybe bought into it for. So similarly, I think that it's possible that a book like Thor 134 can do a similar path to something like Avengers 8 or a Silver Surfer #3 book. I think once you get rumors that this character could potentially come to the MCU, a new floor is established, and it's going to take a lot for that floor to really crash in on itself and for the book to come down back to the lows that it was before the rumor. With that said, should you still invest in this book if it's really, really hot in the market? Again, that's up to you. But I do think that it is fair to make the conclusion that once a rumor is out there, once a book gets hot, it's going to be hard for a book like that to ever come back down to the prices that you could have got it for before the rumor. So if you're somebody out there who does in fact want Thor 134, maybe don't buy it, this current week that, the book is absolutely exploding. Maybe wait a couple weeks. But my conclusion to you would be that you're probably going to have to pay around the new prices that the book currently has. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Just wanted to show off my new book, Thor 134. Going to add it another copy to my collection, and it'll be really interesting to see what the values for this thing are throughout the months and the years on the way to Guardians of the Galaxy #3. Anyways, drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.